Imagine this. You're strolling through, say, the ancient, vibrant streets of Beijing. You turn a corner, and there it is, a magnificent structure. Sweeping curved roofs, classic red columns, intricate wooden carvings. Your first thought, quite naturally, might be, wow, what a truly beautiful Chinese temple. But what if? What if you're actually looking at one of China's oldest, most significant mosques, built over 1,000 years ago? Today, we're doing a deep dive into exactly that, the surprising history and unique architecture of China's ancient mosques. We've got some fascinating sources here, including insights from China's hidden mosques, a legacy of cultural blending, and Nancy Steinhardt's really pivotal work. They unpack this remarkable story. It's all about cultural blending, strategic adaptation, and, well, ingenious survival. So our mission is to explore how this really distinct form of Islamic architecture developed right there in China, and what its very existence tells us about cultural adaptation, about resilience. Okay, let's unpack this, because as you'll find out, these buildings, they hold secrets to a 1,000-year-old story you'd probably never guess. Let's start with that visual paradox, the thing you see first. When you encounter a place like the Niujie Mosque in Beijing, for example, you just won't see towering minarets, no grand domes, none of those iconic features we associate with mosques in, say, the Middle East or North Africa. Instead, it's exterior design. It's strikingly similar to a traditional Chinese temple. We're talking those distinctive pagoda-style rooftops, yeah. Vibrant red gates, pillars, detailed wooden carvings, all unmistakably Chinese in form. What's conspicuously missing are those universally recognized Islamic architectural symbols. It's like an architectural chameleon.
Yeah, exactly. And what's truly remarkable here is that this isn't accidental. It's not just because they were isolated or didn't have the resources. This was a highly deliberate choice, political and cultural. A strategic decision made by those early Chinese Muslim communities. It reflects this unique kind of cultural blending, a conscious effort to integrate, not to stand apart. It really says a lot about how well they understood their environment and, well, how to survive and even thrive within it.
Okay, so to really get that decision, we need to step back in time a bit, to the 7th century, during the Tang Dynasty, a really powerful era in China. So how did Islam first get to China? Well, primarily through trade.
That's right, trade routes.
Arab and Persian merchants, they sailed into these bustling port cities. Others traveled overland along the Silk Road.
Bringing goods, but also their faith.
Exactly. Silk, porcelain, spices, and Islam. Many of them chose to stay. They married into local communities, settled down, and naturally started building places to worship.
And it wasn't insignificant. By the 10th century, you had established Muslim communities, some numbering in the thousands, in major cities like Xi'an, Quanzhou, Guangzhou, and Beijing, too.
Okay, so they're established.
Yeah.
But why was China so different?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, you immediately see why China was such a unique environment for Islam to take root, especially compared to other regions where it expanded, like the Middle East or North Africa.
Oh, so?
Unlike those areas, China already had this ancient, deeply entrenched imperial culture, millennia old. That meant its own highly developed building styles, strong political pressures, a very centralized state ideology.
Right. Confucianism was dominant.
For centuries, yes. Confucianism, with its emphasis on social harmony, hierarchy, respect for ancestors, that was the bedrock of imperial rule. Other faiths, like Taoism or even Buddhism, which had arrived centuries earlier, they operated within that framework. They'd adapted. And crucially, the imperial court, generally, it didn't tolerate outsiders who looked like outsiders for long. Not visibly, anyway. Understanding that context is absolutely fundamental to grasping the architectural and cultural adaptations that followed. It forced a different kind of integration, very different from elsewhere.
Which brings us then to a really pivotal period, the Ming Dynasty. That's 1368 to 1644. This era was known for its pretty strict control over religious expression.
Very much so.
Confucianism was the official state ideology. Buddhism and Taoism were generally tolerated, but as you said, they'd already sort of fit in.
They were seen as part of the Chinese landscape by then.
Right, but other faiths faced stricter scrutiny. So here's where it gets really interesting. Islam was accepted, but there was this powerful, maybe unspoken condition. It was tolerated only if it looked loyal to the imperial Chinese culture.
Exactly. It couldn't stand out as foreign, couldn't look like a potential challenge to the established order.
So faced with that, what did Chinese Muslims do? What was their strategy?
This is precisely where the ingenuity comes in. The strategy adopted by Chinese Muslims, particularly the Hui people. The Hui are a distinct group whose identity is really intertwined with both Islam and Chinese culture.
Oh.
Their strategy was adaptation. They chose to build mosques that deliberately resembled their surroundings. Specifically, they drew inspiration from Confucian temples. The architectural choices were incredibly precise, strategic even.
Like what specifically?
Well, they used wooden beams and tiled roofs, just like local temples, incorporated symmetrical courtyards, and crucially, completely avoided exterior domes or minarets. Those would have instantly marked the buildings as foreign.
So it blended right in visually.
Perfectly. But this wasn't just about looks. It was a profound act of cultural translation. Imagine a building that looks totally in sync with Chinese architecture from the outside, yet the interior is meticulously designed to maintain Islamic identity. You'd find Arabic script, beautifully done, adorning the walls. Not just decoration, a core element.
And the layout.
The prayer halls were always oriented precisely west, towards Mecca, featuring a very clear mihrab, the prayer niche, guiding the congregation.
So it wasn't hiding the faith.
No, not hiding. It was about fitting in, demonstrating political obedience while preserving their religious identity deep inside. It was a remarkable balancing act. You could call it subtle cultural diplomacy expressed in architecture.
Okay, let's make this really concrete. The Niujie Mosque in Beijing, we mentioned it earlier, built way back in 996 CE, rebuilt several times.
Okay.
It's one of China's oldest and most important Islamic sites.
Absolutely key site.
And from the street, like we said, those pagoda-style roofs, red gates, it literally looks nothing like a mosque you'd find in Cairo or Istanbul. If you didn't know its history, you'd probably just think, oh, another beautiful old Chinese building.
That's right.
So how does the interior then really drive home its true purpose?
Well, step inside Niujie, and there's no doubt its purpose becomes immediately clear. You're surrounded by intricate Arabic calligraphy. It's not just painted on, it's integrated into the decorations, the structure itself. Wow.
The prayer hall is clearly defined, very spacious, and meticulously oriented west toward Mecca. And the mihrab, the prayer niche, it's prominent. It guides the faithful.
So the contrast is really stark then.
Absolutely. This is where you see it clearly. Essential Islamic functions hidden behind a Chinese form. Even the name. Niujie means Ox Street.
Ox Street, not something religious.
Nope. Taken directly from the surrounding market area. Not a religious term at all. Which further shows this deep-seated blending. It meant the local Muslim community recognized it instantly, of course, but for outsiders, it often just melted into the city fabric. Its true purpose could go unnoticed for centuries.
It's so important to stress, though, that this architectural choice, it wasn't weakness, was it? Or some kind of concession. Was this blending a sign of, I don't know, capitulation? Or was there a deeper, more powerful strategy at play here?
Oh, absolutely a strategy.
What did this achieve for them over all those centuries? It was, in fact, an incredibly effective survival strategy, a brilliant one, really. It allowed Muslims in China to largely avoid persecution, to gain legal recognition, maintain their identity, preserve their communities through centuries of political change, dynasty shifts, upheavals.
How did that work practically?
Well, think about it. Confucian scholars saw buildings that looked so much like their own temples and halls, they perceived no threat. And the imperial court. They allowed these mosques to function quietly precisely because they didn't look foreign. They didn't challenge the established visual or political order.
So it was like architectural camouflage.
In the most profound sense, yes. It enabled a community to flourish, you might say, under the radar, gaining strength through subtle adaptation, not confrontation. And this raises a really important question when you compare it, as you said, with mosque architecture elsewhere in the Muslim world.
Right, like the Ottomans or Mughal.
Exactly. Think of the Ottomans in Istanbul. Those massive domes, the soaring, pointed minarets, they were grand symbols of imperial power, designed to dominate the skyline, project authority.
Unmistakable.
Or the Mughals in India. Think Taj Mahal, even though it's a tomb. That use of white marble, the immense scale. A spectacular display of wealth, piety, power.
Okay.
But in China, Muslims, they flipped the logic entirely. They almost shrank the mosque visually from the outside. They softened the style. Instead of dominating, they blended.
That's a fascinating way to put it.
It wasn't just about aesthetics. It was profound political diplomacy, an architecture of, you could say, walls that whispered instead of shouting. And it shows us something important about Islamic history. It's not always about expansion or golden ages defined by huge, visible monuments. Sometimes it's about deep adaptation, understanding power dynamics, adjusting to survive and thrive peacefully. It's a real testament to their political skill and cultural intelligence.
This incredible history of adaptation, though, takes a really interesting, maybe complicated turn today, in the present, there's this complex modern development happening.
Yes, there is.
Many of these older, uniquely Chinese-style mosques, the very buildings that embodied this survival strategy for centuries, they're being torn down, or maybe more often rebuilt, remodeled.
That's happening quite a bit.
And in their place, they're often being redesigned to include more, well, Arab styles. Domes are being added, minarets are going up. Why? Why is this happening now? And what does it tell us about, I suppose, shifting ideas of identity and authenticity for Chinese Muslims today?
Well, it's complex, as you say. This trend, it potentially signifies an erasure, doesn't it? An erasure of the very strategy that allowed these communities to endure for so long.
How so? What are the forces driving it?
On one hand, you have some contemporary Chinese Muslims, perhaps influenced by global Islamic movements, social media, easier travel. They might genuinely desire to reclaim what they see as a more authentic, universally recognized Islamic architecture, a desire to connect visually with the wider Muslim world.
Okay, so an internal desire for visible identity.
Potentially, yes. But on the other hand, there can also be external pressures. Authorities, paradoxically, might sometimes favor a more globally recognizable, perhaps standardized Islamic look over these historically unique, blended Chinese forms. It's complicated.
That is paradoxical. Why would they prefer that?
The motivations can vary and are often debated. Sometimes it might be framed around modernization or standardization, sometimes other political considerations, but the effect is the same.
Yeah.
These mosques, like Niujie or the Huaisheng Mosque down in Guangzhou, they're more than just buildings. They are living historical proof. Proof that Islam in China developed its own unique, homegrown, deeply local story. It wasn't just borrowed or copied. It was born from adaptation, integration within Chinese culture.
Right.
So to remove these unique features, well, you risk losing a tangible piece of that distinct history. It creates a tension, really, between national identity and religious identity, a tension these structures once navigated so artfully.
Wow. So we've journeyed through quite a bit today. Centuries of history, from Islam's arrival in China through these ingenious architectural adaptations, and now landing on this modern dilemma that really challenges that very legacy.
It really makes you think. The next time you or anyone walks past what looks like a traditional Chinese temple, maybe pause for a second. Remember what we've discussed. You might actually be passing a mosque.
Yeah.
And that structure, it stands as a testament to a really profound idea.
1,000 years of quiet resistance, you called it. Peaceful negotiation, architectural diplomacy, all written beautifully in stone and timber, in a world that often rewards the loudest voice, the most visible statement. The history of China's hidden mosques teaches us something really profound, I think.
I agree.
Sometimes, strength is found not in shouting, not in overt display, but in subtle adaptation, in resilience.
Walls that whisper.
Walls that whisper. We invite you, our listeners, to reflect on that powerful idea, resilience and identity, found in the quiet corners of history.